LaHaShem, we're continuing in the Mishnayoth, Rabbi R Bartenurah, Shabbat Perik Aleph, Mishnah Gimel. Lo yetzeh hayad b'machto samuch lahashicha. Shema ishkach v'yetzeh. Alterator, someone who sews clothing, he should not go out with a needle close to the evening of close to the evening of Shabbat, Friday afternoon. Lo halavlar bekulmoso, and also not a lavlar. Lavlar, I guess, is another name for schreiber, a writer, a Sofer, bekulmoso. Velo with his instrument of writing. Velo yefale et kelav, velo yikra leor haner. So a person should not be mefale et kelav. What does that mean? Lo yevaer kini v'gadav. He should not be coming to a concept of cleaning out his clothing from the lights close to Shabbat. Velo yikra leor haner. And also, however, on Shabbat, you should not be reading from the close to a candle. Now, Rabbi Akiva Eiger is going to ask a question here. What does this have to do with anything here? We're talking about Erev Shabbat. Now we jumped on Shabbat. So that was the discussion something to look forward. So they said the Mishnah continues. A chazan over here means a person who is in charge of children learning to reading how to read in the Beit Knesset. So this chazan, this person is allowed to watch over the children while they're reading next to candles. However, he should not be reading next to the candle, as we know. As we see that also from this laws of stringencies. We also learn, the Mishnah continues with, in reference to a man who has leakage and a woman who has leakage, they should not be eating together because this will accustom people to do the avirot. So this is a little bit cryptic Mishnah. So let's see what exactly going on here. Says Rabbi Bartenurah, lo yetzeh hayad b'machato. All right, the Mishnah didn't tell us what are we talking about, what day, what time. Is it referring to the first Mishnah where it says close to Mincha? Sorry, the second Mishnah, the previous Mishnah. We really don't know when and what it's talking about here. So Rabbi Ovadia is going to make a little bit order here, set order straight. When it says over here in the Mishnah, the tailor cannot come out with his what's his name, with his needle. Even if the needle is stuck into his clothing, which would make it a little bit like a tachshit, maybe it's going to make it look like a design a little bit, so make it beautiful. Even with that, he should not come out. Shema ishkach v'yitzeh. We're afraid that he's going to forget and go out. Ve'omer ve'oman derech umanoto chayav derech ha'omanim letochban bebigdim kshiyotzim lashuk. And this is how professionals do it. They put needles on their sole, on their on their jacket. Something that maybe shows that that's their profession. That's how people, as they go out in the market, as they're walking around the market, people will see them walking around with needles. They'll hire them. So that's the normal way of walking in the marketplace when you're looking for a job. On Shabbat, or close to Shabbat, that will be a problem. Shem v'ishkach v'yitzeh, says Rabbi, what does that mean? He will forget. And he's going to walk around with it after Shabbat. There could be many various problems, right? He's really not carrying it because it's in his baggage. So it could be other problems that we just discussed. Maybe he's looking for business, and on Shabbat you're not allowed to look for business. So all those things. Alavrar Sofer bekulma. So Alavrar is a name of a Mishnah's name of like what we described today, our scribe, a Sofer. Bekulmoso. What is the kulmoso? Atachuv achore oznav kederech hasofrim. So over there they would have like today you have an accountant. Has a pen or a pencil by his ear. So that it will not be allowed. Also, again, it could be there for the purpose of advertising yourself. This is your business. This is what you do. This is how people will recognize you in the marketplace. So over here, also on Shabbat, you should not walk out with it like that. Now, what it has to do with anything, clearing out, we said his lice from his clothing. He's checking to see if there's any lice in his clothing. Targum Be'arti HaKodesh Peliti. So he's explaining over there. This is talking about the word of Yipaleh. Peliti says over there in Dvarim Be'arti HaKodesh Me'abayit. So the Targum over there explains the word Be'arti, to go out, as Peliti. So that's the language of the Mishnah. I guess the author of the Mishnah was more common by him to speak Aramaic. So he tells you right now, lo yifaleh. So yifaleh et kelav, meaning lo piliti, as it says in Unklus, in reference to the Tirgum of Bi'arti HaKodesh, right? As it says over there in Sefer Dvarim, chapter 26, Pasuk Yud Gimel. Pasuk 13. Velo ikra le'or haner. So what has to do with anything here? Now all of a sudden we're jumping that a person should not be reading from a candle on Friday night or even on Shabbat day. If it's a dark room, you should not be reading from a candle. Why? But Shema yiteh haner lehabi hashemen lefi hapetila kedei sheyidaluk yafeh v'nimtza miba'er b'Shabbat. What happens is, in all the days they had cups of oil. So, and the cup was not always made smooth, and all the oil wasn't gathering always to the bottom section. So what happened was when there was oil, sometimes there were bumps in the lamps, in the oil lamps. What happened was, so the twick is touching one part of the oil lamp, and now there's on the other side there's more oil. So what happens is, when the oil starts running out here, it's not connecting to the other side of the bottle of the lamp of the oil, because the lamp is not, it's curvy a little bit. So what happens is, we're afraid that you're going to tilt the lamp and get the oil from the section where the twick is not reaching into the top where the section of the twick is. And what happens is, now you're giving life back to the twick, and therefore you are looking like you're lighting light on Shabbat. Chas v'shalom. Okay? ואפילו היה הנר גבוה 2 ו3 קומות, לעולם אסור לקרוא לאור הנר, אלא אם כן יש עמו אדם אחר לשומרו. It doesn't matter how far and distant the light of the candle, the lamp, those lamps that are the olden times, how distant it is from you. Even if it's higher, that you're going to have to be matriach yourself, you have to go out of your way and climb up and tilt it. Even there we say, before Shabbat, on Shabbat, the person should not be allowed to reach from the candle. Why? Because we're afraid, unless he has somebody watching him, because we're afraid he's going to do it. או אם הוא אדם חשוב שאינו רגיל לעולם לתקן הנר. So the Rabbi says, now, however, it only depends on the importance of the stature of a person. If a person is of a stature that he will not be climbing up now to the ceiling to fix up the lamp, then in that format, in that situation, the Rabbi says it will be allowed for him, like Rabbi Ovadia, it will be allowed for him to learn from that ner. That's Rabbi Ovadia. I don't know if everybody agrees with it. Something to look into. Again, this is not halakha l'maseh. None of this, what we're learning here, is now halakha l'maseh. The Mishnayoth, Rabbi Ovadia R Bartenurah, sometimes they will coexist or coincide with the halakha, and many times not. So it's not that we're learning the halakha. Here we just be me'oreret inyan. This is the Mishnah, and we want to bring out, this is what was halakha 2,000 years ago when the Mishnayot were established by Rabbeinu HaKadosh. But leShulchan Aruch le'halacha, it is very important before a person does anything, especially if you're going to hear anything in this videos or this class, you're going to hear something that you know that it's asur. We are not pasking halacha mutar. We are just pointing out the different opinions on the matter. A chazan, what does that mean? A chazan? Rabbi Ovadia says, what is this chazan? Chazan usually means two ways. In modern day in society, chazan means the one who is bal tefillah is called chazan, but it's not true. In the terminology of Torah, in the Limud of Halacha, Gemara, and in Shulchan Aruch, right? Chazan really means a person who is in charge of something. So chazan meaning that he is in charge of, let's say, feeding the poor, or he is in charge of taking care of certain elements. So over here, chazan is in charge of educating children. So the Rabbi says chazan over here means melamed tinokot. He teaches, is educating little children. Me'echana tinokot korin. So he has to pay attention from where they're reading. So it says Rabbi Ovadia R Bartenurah, me'echan יתחילו לקרות, meaning he tells them from where to start reading. דבעיון מועד כי היא לא גזרינן. שמא יותר. When the person just looking for a little reference of something, there we're not giving a decree. Don't look next to the candle. That's the little thing, without worry. He's going to now play around with the candle for that little thing. However, the Chazan, when the rabbi is sitting there, he's educating the children, they're allowed to read next to the candle. Why? We are not concerned that they're going to tilt the candle to make sure the fire lights up, the light gets brighter. Why? Because they're afraid of the Rabbi. They're going to give him over the head, give him a smack, as they should, as every rabbi should. Unfortunately, today's generation, we have this problem that the rabbis are prohibited from giving the children over the head. They're coming and bothering. You know what it is? What Avirah it is to bother in Yeshiva, to bother a Rabbi while he's learning. Chas v'shalom. There is almost no graver sin. If a person is disturbing other boys from learning Torah, it was a big thing when the rabbis used to beat up the kids, give them a little smack on the head with their sticks. That was an amazing thing. It's we don't have that anymore. But again, still, what about today? Since today, question. Today we have a Krum society. In the olden days, the Rebbe, amen. You said over there. Right, the Shem. Now, over here like this. In the olden days, where there was a mirta, so we said the Rebbe is allowed to watch the kids reading next to an oil lamp. We're not afraid the children are going to tilt it. Today, maybe you should answer it. Why? Because the children are controlling the Rebbe. Today, the Mishugas of the world is so groomed.
No, okay.
What?
It used to be there was no light. Now everybody uses electric. What's the chashashim is going to bend and nobody uses
No, I'm saying, let's say, no. That's Ashkenazi Shalibut Torah. I didn't ask that scenario. You think I'm so stupid talking about someone that we have lights? We're talking about you in the room, there is no lights, the lights went out, and you have candles. And the Zman, I know by some people, when there is no light, it's a hefker valve. By us, by Sfaradim especially, in the Yemenite world, they'll kill you. Zman limut Torah, Zman limut Torah. Children are sitting over there, and they're all learning. So we have candles. What should we do? So on Shabbat Lechoira, I will be aser in this generation where you have sick people that telling the parent, the Rebbe, you're not allowed to hit the student. Mistama, because there's no more mirta. All right. Anyway, so from where do they start reading? The Ba'inan Mu'ad ki hai lo gazrin al shema yoter.
Somebody's on there as well or no?
This video, not yet. But Korin Livnei Rabban Leora Ner. Okay, so now that's what we're discussing, right? The Rebbe is gonna give fear to the children. Today we don't have that anymore. Chas v'shalom, we have such a scenario. The Choira, there will be an issue. Maybe we should not allow children to read with the Ner. They're gonna lose Torah. They're gonna lose Torah unless you have where the Rebbe is mamash. And
there's no chashash by children because they want to get out as soon as possible. They're not going to want to stay longer.
No.
The whole chashash is by Talmid Chacham that he's desperate to learn. He's so desperate to learn.
No, there is a chashash by children. What kind of nonsense is this? This is Mishnah LaHaShem says. Where are you coming from?
I learned it recently.
He's telling you the whole reason we don't have a chashash is because of the Rebbe. Because what it says, Eimat Rabban Alein.
But when the Rebbe's not there,
they're not allowed to. What's the problem?
No, there's no chashash they're going to do it because they want to get out. They're not orangutan.
That's your children. No. Okay. Oh, Habibi. You know what how many children are? You take a child, you take a 30-year-old Amaretz Taimani who doesn't learn Torah, he's going to be the best Balkorah in the world. Why? By 11 years old, they know the whole back and forth, the whole Torah. You know what they go with them? Baruch Hashem. Anyway. אבל הוא לא יקרא, הוא בעצמו לא יקרא. למה? כל הפרשה. מפני שאין אימתן עליו. He's not afraid of them. ושמירתן לא הביא שמירה. And they are sitting there. They cannot observe the Rebbe and correct him if he does any mistakes. Today, I would actually allow the Rebbe to learn next to the children, because he is a shmata. They're the kings. Remember what we talking about here? They're the shmata.
I was saying from Rabbi Yosef this morning. I heard in the Shiru where I went this morning in Benas Radim that Rabbi says there's no such thing as tinok shenishba be'aretz. But look what's happening today. You have the family bibas. That's 2 kids. Mamish tinok shenishba. There's never been such a tinok shenishba ever like this. These 2 kids that are in by Hamas now. Never.
By what?
Rabbi Vata said there's no such thing as Tinuk Shenishba in Israel, only in the Chutz La'aretz.
Nobody agrees with him, by the way. Das Yechid should be Yechidim.
But even according to him, if he was alive today, he would definitely agree that these two children, these two Bibas children, are...
Which children?
Bibas.
Who is
Mishpachat Bibas. A lady with two kids that was kidnapped from Berry, straight to Gaza.
I don't know anything about it. Okay.
136 hostages. You don't know anything about it? What do you mean you don't know about it?
No, I don't know what Bibas. Well, so you want to say they're Tinuk Shenishba?
They're Tinoikas. Shenishba in the purest sense of the word.
Oh, that's not what he meant. And you know what are you coming up with this story?
Why?
Habibi. First of all, Rabbi Vadia is das Yechid should be Yechidim. No Rav today believes what Rabbi Vadia says. In reference to that. We have Tidakot Shel Beit Rabban. Everybody in Israel today, you don't understand. 185,000 children today don't know how to say Kriyat Shema in the school of in kindergartens of Israel. They're not allowed to learn Kriyat Shema. So what does it mean not to know Tinuk Shenishba? What does that mean? That's the best scenario of Tinuk Shenishba, if of anything. Ravadya is Ravadya. Not everybody going to agree with it. Baruch Hashem, many Rabbanim, all the Rabbanim I know, none of them agree with that. With that respect to him. Anyway, continues the Rabbi. ומאי טעמנמי איכא למאן דאמר דאישה שומרת לבעלה אין שמירתה בשמירה. Again, today I could agree with that. The man still have little control over the house. So the Rabbi says if a wife is watching her husband learning next to the candle, that would not be sufficient enough for him to be allowed. She'en emata Allah, because he doesn't have much fear of her. Okay, that still is applicable today, even though it's a woman's world today. Still, the man, the woman, you know what they say. A man goes to his wife, and he says, it's raining outside today. From the tone, she knows it's raining outside today. So what does she say? Don't go to shul, it's raining, you're going to slip, you're going to this and that. So he stays home. Why? Why did she say that? From the tone that he said it. She felt that he wants to be justified why he's not going to shul to daven, the minyan. But if he says, Malka, what? I'm going to shul. She's not going to say it's raining. Go. Nothing. Well, it all depends how you say it. Right. So, okay, anyway. Kayotze bo, what about, the Mishnah continues, Says Ben Avadia, Kayotze bo la'asod harhaka min ha'avera amru. In order to distance people from doing sins, the Chazal taught us, Lo yuchal hazav im ishto zava. A zav who is sick, he has an emission from his private. Now he should not be eating together with his wife. Even though she is tmiya, nida, ziva, doesn't matter, they should still be prohibited to eat together. Now, it doesn't mean together from on the table. That's not a problem. If you look at Halachot Nida, it's talking about from one plate. Specifically, the Isur is from eating from one plate. Today, a man and a woman are, not even today, the Halacha is encouraging them to eat together by the table. It's not a problem. However, he should not be eating with her from the same plate. That's the Isur. Why? Because people get accustomed to Avera. Shemitoch shehem mityachadim yavo lev'ol ziva shehi bekaret. What will happen here, even though he is sick, right? Because obviously he's omitting things from his private. Even though he's sick, he will have a ta'ava for his wife, and therefore he will sleep with her while she is zava also. And now he's gonna go to karet. He's gonna be in the shama. He's gonna be ripped apart. V'zav v'zava le'robota naket. Atashmish kashe lahen v'ikalememer devadai lo yavo lidei argel avera afilu achi lo yuchlu zavim zava. Now you're gonna say, I don't understand why are you using this analogy of zav and ziva. He is sick and she is sick. We know that a man should not be sleeping with his wife when she's in need. Because it's going to be kasher for her to get pregnant, and if she gets pregnant, the child is going to be weak, and she's a weak person, she's a cholah. That's why she has blood coming out of her. And this man he has emissions coming out of him because he is weak. And now we know that scientifically speaking, they're both in pain. So they're both in pain. The man who has emissions and she. And why did you choose this scenario specifically? To tell you, even in this scenario, when they're in pain, we're still encouraging them, we're forbidding them from eating from the same plate. Chas v'shalom, they'll come and they'll do the avirah, because eating together from the plate draws people close to love, and they will be more ready to commit, tempted to do the act. Continues Rabbeinu Ovadia, continues the Mishnah. Dalet. ואלו מן ההלכות שאמרו בעליית ענניה בן חזקיהו בן גוריון כשעלו לבקרו נמנו, כשעלו לבקרו. So this, ואלו מן ההלכות, this is the halachot that were said in the aliyah of Hananiah ben Chizkiah. Who is this Hananiah ben Chizkiah? Ben Gurion. כשעלו לבקרו. What happened was there, no, this is different. No, this is different. What happened was that Hananiah ben Chizkiah ben Gurion, he was mifaresh. The Chachamim came to conclusion in the time of the Tanaim. They decided to be goyness Sefer Yecheskel. They wanted to goyness it, burn it, bury it, whatever it is. Why? Because many times Yecheskel spoke specifically to Kohanim, indicating that just Kohanim are not allowed, and the Jews are allowed to sin certain avirot against Torah, and therefore, from the language that Yecheskel Navi used, that came out to be a lesson that the Jews are allowed to sin, and we know that no Kohen is allowed to, no Navi is allowed to be oker, even the smallest halacha in the Torah. So the rabbi said, we want to put the Yecheskel in the Cherem, the Sefer Yecheskel. They came to Rabbi Hananiah ben Chizkiah, this tzaddik, the son of Hananiah ben Chizkiah ben Gurion, right? So they went there, and he actually clarified everything for them. And we have such a Masorah till today. We have Rabbi Yehuda Chassid. We have a lot of the Ashkenazim right now are lying. They're misleading people, thinking the Cherem of Rabbeinu Gershom applied to the entire Ashkenaz world. It did not. It only applied to his town, maybe to his city. He did not give a Cherem to the whole world. Cannot marry two wives. It's actually haram to even think like that. Which is a shod. We're all growing like Christians, unfortunately, today. It's a big disaster. So Rabbi Hananiah said, when Yecheskel said specifically things for Kohanim, he really meant for Kohanim to encourage the families of Kohanim. But he did not come and say there's a hetarim for Jews to do everything against Torah. So therefore the Chachamim accepted it, and they left Yecheskel, Sefer Yecheskel alone. And that's the Mishnah is pointing out here. Nimnu. Now the next part of the Mishnah. What happened was there was an incident. There was an incident happened in the Beit Midrash, which is very common today. Unfortunately, what happens is they have yeshiva weeks. All of a sudden, people decide to take vacations. I don't know where they're coming up with this stuff. Somebody with a family, I could understand what, where, and how. I think one vacation. I think the best vacation in the world is what? Is Pesach and Sukkot. You have two vacations during the year, completely separate from everything. People, it's not enough. People are bored. The wives are driving people nuts, crazy. So the yeshiva man decide to take off even a vacation week, a whole week. And what happens is, unfortunately, some yeshivas don't follow this nonsense rules. What is this? People learning Torah. What vacation Torah? Now, what happened? Sounds like that's what happened here. There was an incident where the yeshiva talmidim of Rabbi Shammai were greater than the yeshiva talmidim of Beit Hillel, and they came with a merger. They had a meeting, and they were contemplating halachot. So there were 18 halachot that day that the Beit Yeshiva of Shammai, they didn't like vacation, looks like, and there were many more than the children of the students of Hillel, and therefore they went ahead and they decreed 17 laws that the Shammai won. Ushmona asa dvarim gazru bo bayom. The Mishnah says they decreed on that day 18 halachot, and we will discuss each one of them individually. B'ezrat Hashem, bo bayom. And so this is the Mishnah ends. Now we're going to go to Rabbeinu Ovadia, and hopefully we'll understand what's happening here. How does this happen? Maybe he's not going to tell us how did this happen. It's just my salt and pepper. This whole big business with Yeshiva week. I spoke to a Jungelite in the Yeshiva last week. He tells the whole week they had the Yeshiva of the Koilel Jungelite. People learning in the Koilel, they had to take off for the Yeshiva, right? And they come with all sorts of excuses. Bitulua, Kiyumua, all the nonsense in the world. There isn't such a thing. When I was growing up, no koilel ever had the yeshiva week. No koilel had I don't know what, shmorm. You go to learn Beit Hashem and you learn non-stop, and you grow into Torah. Where this new rules coming up, of course we have to consider the weakness of everybody is like a little crybaby. Maybe that's the reason. But anyway, let's see. That's, as I said, that's just my 2 cents. I'm throwing it in there. You don't have to take it for wherever it is. Halacha Mishnah Dalet, Rabbeinu Ovadia. Ve'elu me'alachot. En polin ve'en korin le'or haner detanan maditin. So the decree that was established that what the previous Mishnah Dal, Mishnah Gimel, all those decrees were also established when they went up to Hananiah's house, right? The Talmid Chacham. That en polin and korin le'or haner, you don't clear out the lights from your baguette, and also you don't read next to a lamp, oil lamp on Shabbat. This was learned in Hananiah's house. בעליית חנניה בן חזקיה, שביקשו חכמים לגנוז ספר יחזקאל שבדבריו נראים כסתום דברי תורה. So Rabbi Ovadia says, Yechezkel's words, as we already discussed, like they're going against Torah, כגון כל נבלה וטרפה מן העוף ומן הבהמה לא יאכלו הכהנים, like what it says over there in Yechezkel, chapter 44, pasuk 31, that the Kohanim are prohibited to eating any nevila or trefa, any dead or ripped animal from chicken or behema animal. So Kohanim who de lo achle ha-Yisrael achle. So they learn. The Rabbi says, what is this? The Kohanim are not allowed. Only Kohanim, the Jews are allowed. Ukegon v'chen ta'aseh b'shiva b'chodesh. As it says over there, also in other places where it says Yechezkel chapter 45 pasuk 20, that you should do on the 7th month. Echan nirmas korban ze betorah. Where does a korban like this is brought in the Torah? Nitman Hananiah ben Chizkiah ba'aliyah v'yashab sham v'yefrach sefer Yechezkel v'yefaresh sefer Yechezkel. So Hananiah decided, because the rabbis were into the defile Kedusha of Yechezkel, that's a Navi, was a Kodesh, was a holy, She'en Kamo, we know that he speaks about the third temple, and the Gemara compares anything with Yechezkel was the holiest of the holiest. And now the rabbis wanted to eradicate his Torah from Am Israel. So Hananiah was saddened, and he went to the Aliyah, he went to the attic, and he said he's not coming out of there until he learns the Pshat. And he came, and the rabbis came, and they wanted to hear from him, and he gave them a beautiful explanation. And over there he came out explaining what Yechezkel means, as we already said, that sometimes certain things the rabbis are allowed to say only to a certain group, and it doesn't mean that he's okay. It doesn't mean that the whole Torah is forbidden. Like many cases where Rabbi Yehuda Chassid is telling his children, you should not marry certain boys with the name of your father, or certain things like that. So all those elements where there was a mention, where there was mentioning of certain conditions that Rabbi Yehuda Chassid said, and Allah is whatever he said, that was for his family. It's not for everybody. So some people get upset with it. There's nothing to be upset. A Chacham is allowed to make settings for his family. What are we going to do? In my category as a parent of my children, I also set certain rules to my family that I could only ask. I cannot command them. I'm not a prophet. I'm not a king. I'm not a God. But I told my family I would like them not to marry certain groups of individuals. I asked them nicely, please don't marry X, Y, and Z groups, and everything else should be fine. Hopefully you'll find a right Shiduchim and be daven to Hashem. But a father is allowed to set conditions to his house. But it doesn't mean now everybody should follow this. That's it. Everybody. That's the law. That's the law. I'm not going to say out loud my conditions. That's not anybody's business. Just a person is allowed to set up whatever he wants. Now, if 20, 100 years from now, my conditions going to come out, here you have a record. My conditions are for my family specifically. If my grandchildren, I prefer my grandchildren to listen to my conditions as well, if it's possible. And I'll be very happy if they do. But if not, then what are we going to do? Again, my children, I would say my children, anything could happen. Those two groups that I really don't believe are good for our family, groups of types of people, maybe in the next generation they'll change. You never know. Everybody's open for tshuva. I'm seriously hoping that there's going to be a lot of tshuva done. And with LaHaShem, hopefully my condition will go off. Then there's no reason to have the condition. The only reason I'm saying the condition to my family is because I see certain things that are bad in those two groups of individuals. Yes, they're amongst the Jews. I'm not talking about Goyim. Obviously, you're not allowed to marry Goyim. I'm talking about two groups in the Judaism that unfortunately their whole mahalach of life is not something that I could cultivate to or appreciate. And therefore, I ask my family, I have a right to ask them. But again, if a good shidduch comes and this, it's not going to be me deciding, it's going to be Hashem deciding through my rabbi. Anyway, Ushmina asad davar gazru b'vayom. Now, what happened here? The Mishnah told us there were 18 different laws were passed, or different gzerot were passed on the certain day. What was the day? As we discussed already in the Mishnah time, learning Mishnah, that there was differentiation between the students of Beit Hillel, and they were much lower numbers. Who knows? Maybe they all got maybe corona. I don't know. Maybe they got sick. I don't know really what happened to them. So they didn't come to class. However, at Beit Shammai, they came, and there were much more of them. So, for whatever the reason is, did they go to on a yeshiva week? Something happened. So now, nichlaku Beit Shammai u Beit Hillel ve'amdu leminyan ve'rabu Beit Shammai u'pasku kemotam. So what happened was, there was a discussion between the two yeshivot, Beit Shammai, the house of the Shammai, and the house of Hillel. In those two yeshivot, they had an argument on certain elements of halakha, what is allowed, what is not allowed, and in the end, they took the votes, as we know that today in the Senate, in the Knesset, nay, yay, all of a sudden the yays are all Beit Shammai, and the laws were set according to Beit Shammai and all 18 elements of different machlokot. What were the machlokot? It says over there in Shmot. How do you know you're supposed to paskin halacha according to the majority? It says like this: Acharei rabim lehatot. You have to go according to the majority. That's the halacha in Shmot, chapter 23, pasuk 2. V'kulhu yudchet davar ma'iti lehu b'gemara. The Gemara will discuss, if you want to learn in Masechet Shabbat, Daf Yud Gimel Amud Bet, and the Rabbi is going to start right now with Elohim. Now, since we are short on time, Bezrat Hashem, tomorrow we will enumerate all the different machlokot, different all 18 halachot where Beit Shammai has succeeded in defeating Beit Hillel's arguments just because of the majority. And it doesn't matter, no matter how smart the arguments are, halacha is said by majority. If you have majority on one side and the minority on the other side, halacha, even though minority makes a lot of sense to you, we really don't care what it makes sense to you. We go by halacha, as it says in the Torah. Acharei harabim lehotot. Have a wonderful evening.